at the real beginning, I just wanted to try what's going on when I use a flute or my voice or drums. How do I react on what I'm doing with any sort of instrument or any sort of noise? So it was not music at all that influenced me, or not any style, or not any trend. I just was so curious to work with noise and sounds and tones, to become aware what's that, what's music, what has it, what's the ground in it, how should it be?
And needing a rehearsal and performance space, Schnitzler and Rodelius began to rent part of a theatre. This room eventually became the Zodiac Free Arts Lab.
We had this room, and we made a lot of, Boris and Achim, they bought some new instruments, for no caching, for caching later, because it was all so really fantastic. Yeah, we played there 2-3 days, nobody came. Of course not, we made no advertising for nothing. Nobody knows us, nobody knew what was going on there. So the first, our group was called Geräusche, means noises, and I had the small, tiny papers, and with a stamp, and 100 of these papers we stamped, and we give them as flying papers around, and where was if there was somewhere a concert of modern music, like in the area of the television station, is it now? Yes, Radio SFB, and the people came out and give them the paper. Or there was Emerson, Lake and Palmer somewhere playing. We put these papers around, and it was really dark also there, and you saw the papers flying. And so afterwards, there was coming people, and then we invite also other musicians, groups, but not normal groups. Sometimes there want somebody plays who just played music from other groups. We didn't want it. We want something what was experimental, and so there came like Schulze with his group came, and of course Edgar came back, and I was with Edgar already in a connection. And he came with his group, and so we had, it was full of equipment, everything, we didn't remove this. It was forever there, and only the groups who was then on the end have the right to play there every evening. But means after the theater was to the end, because otherwise it was too loud,
And the Zodiac became a hive of activity. Where rock had previously been the typical music emerging from the city, now an underground began to form that would draw the most daring musicians to it.
Rockmusik konnte in Berlin nicht so florieren. Rockbands lösten sich relativ schnell auf. Geld war nicht. Dann war diese Free Jazz Szene sehr einflussreich, und am Anfang mischte sich das auch. Und zwar ausgerechnet in diesem Club, den Konrad aufgemacht hatte. Im Zodiac spielten Leute, die heute große Namen im improvisierten Jazz sind, wie Brötzmann, Irene Schmalzer, Schlippenbach. Manche Leute wechselten von einem Genre zum anderen, wie Uli Trepte, der im Trio mit Irene Schmalzer spielte, also Jazz, und dann zu Guru Guru ging, also einer richtigen Krautrock-Band. Diese Szene war da sehr, sehr durchlässig.
Everything was allowed, even smoking joints, so it was really free atmosphere. There were many projects, but the Zodiac was the first nucleus of where everybody came together. It was sort of nest, and out of the Zodiac, many different groups really became aware of themselves. Tangerine Dream, Klaus Schulze, all these guys, they studied themselves in the Zodiac.
I think in every city it is like you're always looking in a room where you can make loud music, and the Zodiac, it was under a big theater, and there was also a pub next to it, and there was a big room where the owner said, here you can play there, And then we just, we played a couple of bands like Cluster and Plus Minus was a big beginning where Schnitzler was also there. And there was Tension Dream there, then I was with my band with Psy Free. But it was a nice kind of, let's say, kind of a factory for bands. So then we got, let's say, a bit known through that in Berlin. And then comes people from other clubs and they said, can you play the same thing in my club or in our club? And so it started slowly, but we were really like totally underground, lowest underground, when you say like this, you know.
This experimentation was not only occurring in Berlin, however. In Munich, radical art commune Amondul was established in '67, and it quickly developed a reputation for its musical performances. Like at the Zodiac, the emphasis was on free form structures and improvisation, and the commune had a similar perspective on artistic freedom, valuing enthusiasm and attitude over technical ability. As they began to tour the country, it became clear that Amondul were a very different proposition than the Anglo-American influenced pop bands.
Amondul was this already this myth and legendary band when they existed. I mean, you had rumors all over Germany, because if they played somewhere, this was so different. They came with their children, they came with their wives, you never knew what the lineup is, yeah, if they play with 4 people or with 20. They always had fights on stage, behind stage, and this was nothing you really expected from a city like Munich. The first music clubs after the war, and in the 60s, even when already Amondul started, have been American GI clubs where they played soul and black music. So in Munich you had a huge community of German musicians interpreting American soul. Yeah. So of course this was a really break Amondul. That was really completely different.
For me, it was like now we were starting to build our own musical identity in Germany, taking influences from all parts and also German influences. Amondus always had a strange affection to their Bavarian past, to the end that they released an album in '74, I think, where they posed in King Ludwig's habit and things like that, and sang about him and about the Bavarian past as a kingdom. So in the late '60s, it was an alternative scene because they mixed things and they did jazzy things. They did very daring things, if I may say so. They didn't just copy anymore. Until '67, it was let's try to do a nice beat band sound, let's try to copy the British bands.
The big magazines picked up on them because of the wildness, yeah, of the image. It was really something very interesting, exotic.
And this new innovative approach to music would spread through Germany. In the far west of the country, the Rhine-Ruhr area comprising cities Cologne and Düsseldorf, yet another scene began to emerge. Both cities had their fair share of beat bands and cover acts, but they also had thriving artistic scenes. In Cologne, Can formed, a group who would become one of the leading lights of the German movement. And in Düsseldorf, future Kraftwerk pioneers Ralf Hutter and Florian Schneider founded the organization.
When I think of Kraftwerk and our organization and the whole scene around them, the things that would come to my mind as forerunners would not be in the field of music, but in the field of fine art, visual art. I think the Düsseldorf scene at the 60s was a very vibrant scene based around this place, this club called Cream Cheese, which was very important, which was a nightclub, a discotheque, decorated and organized by people from the Zero movement, which was a kind of very important movement, and other artists around. The Düsseldorf Art Academy was there, where people like Joseph Beuys were teaching at that time, and this is far more for me the culturally important background